Hello and welcome to In the Envelope, an awards podcast. I am your host, Jack Smart, awards editor at Backstage, the most trusted name in casting. I'm here to spotlight some of the most exciting film, television, and theater awards contenders working today. Who is in the running? What makes an awards-worthy performance? And how can you, my dear listener, win a statue of your own? We're sitting down for intimate, inspirational interviews with actors and artists to get that insider's perspective on these questions and more. It's an opportunity for some of today's most talented stars to share their craft and career advice, and maybe, just maybe, provide a tantalizing glimpse in the envelope.
There always has to be a self-awareness. You always have to know what you are as a product and what you have to offer the marketplace. So if there's, if I'm just a person who says words, well, there's millions of those actors. But if I'm a person who says words in an interesting way and infuse myself in them and my personality, then your chances skyrocket.
We're ending on a bang with an Emmy winner, Sean Hayes.
Yeah.
Sean Hayes, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Guys, listeners, there's a reason we saved this one for last. Because Sean Hayes, as anyone who's seen him on camera or off can guess, he's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and he was in WWE Raw.
What?
In 2012.
Are you pulling up his IMDb page?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm on his IMDb
That's
right
hilarious. That's hilarious that's one of his things. Sean Hayes, for those who don't know, is Jack McFarland on NBC's Will and Grace, a groundbreaking, I'm just going to go ahead and call it a groundbreaking sitcom.
Absolutely.
About gay people.
What?
I know.
On television?
On television, one of the first. Sean Hayes plays Jack McFarland, who was one of the first openly gay, flamboyantly gay men on TV. And what's interesting and what's delightful is that Will and Grace was revived at NBC 9 years later.
And doing very well.
I grew up, Will and Grace was always sort of playing. It's a syndicated, it's a sitcom. It's like everyone kind of knows Will and Grace. But I was not quite as aware of the awards side of things. This show won an insane amount of Emmys.
Wow.
And other awards too. Yeah. Sean Hayes at one point held the record for most SAG Awards for an actor.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He and Megan Mullally both together. He has 4 SAG Awards, but he did win an Emmy. All 4 of the main cast members have an Emmy. Megan Mullally has 2. And they've all been nominated a ton of times. And guest stars come onto that show and they win an Emmy. And it wins for writing. It wins for Best Comedy Series. I mean, I was not aware that it was like an awards magnet.
Yeah. No, neither.
And frankly, this is the first year that's eligible for the new Emmys. It premiered in the fall. And so the 2018 Emmys are coming up. And there's no telling how much love it's going to get. We'll find out on July 12th.
Yeah.
However, it's safe to say that it's going to get something. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Sean Hayes.
And it's not common that a reboot is going to have had that impact.
We are
in the
kind
way
of in
that
this a little bit of a craze of reboots now. And the Will and Grace one it's so genius because it didn't necessarily rebrand itself. And in fact, in many ways, it feels exactly as it did. That nostalgia is a lot of the reason why it's still successful, and that humor is still so perfect and like on point. There's slapstick comedy still. There's still, the 4 of them are still geniuses of slapstick comedy, but it's also got a little bit more of a political bent to it.
Apparently none of them age as well, which is amazing.
Oh yeah, I can vouch for this in person now. Yeah. Deborah Messing, Eric McCormick, Sean Hayes, and Megan Mullally. The 4 of them together, the 4 of them individually are geniuses, but together...
Yeah, great ensemble.
That's such a brilliant... It's probably one of the best examples on TV of comedic chemistry being more than the sum of its parts.
I have no idea, but they seem like they have just natural chemistry between them as people. Yeah. And comes across, whether it is the truth in real life or not.
Sure.
But it certainly appears that way on screen. Maybe they're just brilliant actors and they hate each other. But
sure.
I doubt it.
I don't think that's true. No, and Sean kind of gives us a lovely glimpse into the process. First of all, like the early process of how he got involved in the show. It's always interesting to see how a comedy started off.
Yeah.
But how he does what he does. He's peerless in his physical comedy.
Yeah.
And I kept trying to be like, how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it?
Yeah.
And he knows how to talk to actors, for sure. He's very much a producer. He's also a musician. He studied classical piano. He got his start practicing improv at Second City. It's the kind of thing where he's got the resume that a working actor can look at, and who wants to do any form of comedy, there's going to be something on Sean Hayes' resume that is going to resonate with that person.
Definitely.
And he's got the wisdom to spare. And he's so freaking funny.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, he's one of these people with funny bones. You know, he's just funny. You know, he can't not be funny.
Yeah. As if listeners are surprised to hear that.
Right, exactly.
It's like, this is our last episode for a while. We'll be back with more come, Emmy nominations, hopefully. And we'll see how many of our In the Envelope guests were nominated for Emmys, which will be fun.
Yeah.
And then right around the corner is Film Award season. It just never ends. And I couldn't be more thrilled.
Yeah.
Truly. I'm really excited for what's to come. Thank you, Jamie, for your work.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
On all of this.
As always.
And let's end on this wonderful note of the interview with Sean Hayes.
Yeah.
This podcast is, of course, brought to you, listeners, by Backstage. Listen, aside from all the great inspiration and tips and all of that stuff we offer for free, like this amazing podcast, Backstage also gives you access to incredible casting calls all over the world. That is why it's the world's #1 casting platform. If you're curious, or if you're an actor yourself and you really want to jumpstart your career, and you're ready to take the advice and the inspiration you've heard here in this very episode and use it, go to backstage.com/subscribe and enter the code ENVELOPE, ENVELOPE. That's, again, 30 days completely free to try Backstage, where you can make a profile, upload a headshot, upload a reel, start browsing the casting notices, and start applying to jobs, because who knows, maybe one day I'll be interviewing you. Again, that's backstage.com/subscribe and enter the code ENVELOPE. Sean Hayes is the Emmy-winning and 4-time SAG-winning star of NBC's Will and Grace, where he played the iconic role of Jack McFarland for years and is now gracing our TV screens again after a 9-year break. He's also a Tony nominee for Promises, Promises and works as a producer on his company Hazy Mills Productions. You know him, you love him. Here it is, our interview with Sean Hayes. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome. What else is going on today? Did you have other
Is this it? Are we rolling? Is this
I think we're rolling, yeah.
Oh my God, this is going to be so thrilling. It's just like off the cuff, right? No, what else do I have going on today? Oh my gosh. Well, just a bunch of stuff, boring stuff to other people, but my company, Hazy Mills Productions, we're casting a couple pilots right now, so it's hard to keep all the characters separate in your brain from each
Different
script.
Shows? Yeah. Oh.
But
How many?
Meanwhile, there are Syrian refugees, that don't have homes. So I always keep things in perspective.
Getting shot up.
Yeah, exactly.
Betty Gabriel of Get Out was just here in the studio. She says to say hello. She was the actress in that movie Get Out. She said, Sean Hayes definitely doesn't know who I am, but she wanted to say hello.
I love that movie. Wait, which one was she?
She was Georgina, the mysterious maid.
Do you know? Wait, do you want to know something? I'm obsessed with her like the rest of the world.
Are you really? Oh, God.
I mean, was her performance? Wait, she just left?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know her performance? Did you see the movie?
Oh my! Of course. Oh my!
Wasn't her performance unbelievable?
Yes.
Do you know that, Joy? Yeah. I mean,
extraordinary.
The fact that she could cry through a smile. How many people can do that?
And essentially play two characters who are fighting with each other.
Yeah. I think she's brilliant.
Amazing. She's going to love to hear this.
Yeah.
She's a fan of yours.
Well, good. I mean, we're going to have to vacation together.
Yeah. I want to get into it with you and Will and Grace, too, in terms of like what role it plays in our cultural consciousness and how important it is and all of that.
But, yeah. Was that the question?
Oh my God, yeah, that's going to be our first question. Why do we need Will and Grace? Why has it come back?
I don't know, everybody needs it, but no, that's nice of you to say all those things. But yeah, I think, it's an interesting thing that the show came back at the time that it did, because people keep saying that to me, that, oh, thank you so much, we need the show back.
Thank you.
And I think they just mean by, literally turn on your TV now. The news is just shit, everything shit, and that's what it feels like, at least, and to a lot of people. And so I think people miss good multicams, and I think there's some comfort in multicams. They remind you of a better time, maybe in your life, and
nostalgia.
Nostalgia, and they're, good ones are comforting. I think people miss. Also you have a million channels with even as many of shows. There's just so many choices out there that I think people's time is very valuable to them, and so I don't know how much they have to invest in new things to maybe find out if they like them or not. And so something about Will and Grace is it's a guaranteed laugh to them, and so they know, well, at least I have this many hours carved out of my day or my week to watch. I want to fill it with something I know that will deliver.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe that's also why they thank us coming back, in addition to other things.
Well, and it is interesting, like you say, like it's back to a more nostalgic time in many ways, but gay visibility and gay even rights have come a long way since it was last on the air.
Absolutely.
So in that way, it's almost our relationship with gays in pop culture has changed.
Well,
since
now,
the show.
in the best way, gay characters are now not even a second thought. You know what I mean? It's like every show is a gay character. So in that respect, we've come leaps and bounds. However, I think our little bubbles, New York and LA and maybe Chicago and
tell me about it.
San Francisco and other places, we think it's going swimmingly.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, there are still people out there, the Kim Davises, the Mike Pences, and all of these things that you read and hear and watch that point. Otherwise, that there's still people out there that still have a problem with gay people, which is mind-blowing to me. Like, how your life wasn't different before gay marriage was legal. How is it different now that gay marriage is legal?
Right.
Their lives are completely not impacted.
Right.
By any measure.
Yeah.
So it's always mind-blowing that Will and Grace was on when it was. Before that, Ellen, before that, Billy Crystal and Soap, before, you can name a million examples. And all of a sudden, people are, not all of a sudden, but people are still having a problem with it. I don't know, it just blows my mind. I would love to have a really long lunch with, like, Michelle Bachmann or something.
Right.
And just really, like, so what is it?
Yeah.
What is the problem?
Why are you losing sleep over this? Why does it impact you?
I mean, when the Pope says, I'm paraphrasing, I don't have any problem with gay people as long as they have God in their lives. What else is the problem? Because I thought y'all listened to the Pope.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So anyway, look at why we just got so angry all of a sudden.
I know. There's so much anger out there. I'm a firm believer that pop culture matters, and especially on a show like Will and Grace, because it was network TV. I think that the fact that it's kind of available there when you turn it on.
Right.
If you accidentally catch 5 minutes of Jack on your TV, and you're a bigoted, gay-hating person, maybe it opens the door a tiny little bit.
Yeah, because there's nothing like the power of laughter and comedy.
Exactly.
I mean, nobody's listening when you yell at them. They'll only listen to you if you're telling a joke in a funny way, or you can tickle their funny bone in that sense. And it's amazing the doors and the minds that comedy can open, and that's why I love the show. Yeah,
that's why I love the show too, and I don't want to call it criticism, but like anything else, it is a show that has received criticism in terms of you can always find fault with some of that humor.
Sure.
But I think that even poking fun at gay culture and at gays was revolutionary. That's still an important way of bringing the visibility to
I don't know
TVs.
I don't know what the show would have been if we didn't poke fun at ourselves.
Right.
So what, we all just, that's a different show.
Yeah. Because like you say, you don't want to like spoon feed essentially some message of like, you don't want to have some preacher going up there and saying gays are okay.
Right.
Here's why.
But see, that's what's so great about the way they write the show too. Max and David and all the writers, Max Muchnick, David Cohen, brilliant writers and obviously amazing, talented showrunners and show creators. But they created the character of Karen, which is built-in gay bashing.
Yep.
You know, in the gay show.
Right.
So she's basically Archie Bunker. You know, she's a right-wing, you know, friend to all Republicans kind of character. And so it's so smart because she calls everybody out on their shit before the audience can. So she's almost like the voice of those people should they be watching.
Right. And she's a character who's very put together and on top of her shit.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing actually with 30 Rock with Jack Donaghy was also like conservative right wing, and he was never seen as anything other than like perfect and on top of things. And Liz Lemon was the mess.
Right.
And it's the same. It's daring, I think, to say and to give it to someone like Megan Mullally who can run with things and make things really funny.
She's brilliant at it.
Right.
And you know, I don't know that you have to be really careful when introducing those characters in new shows now. Yeah. You know, fortunately for us, that character is grandfathered in. Right. And so, but now you have to be really careful because the message, if not delivered in the right way by the right person, is could be very shitty.
Yeah, and she's not soulless or evil.
Yeah.
She has some bad intentions, but she also has heart.
Right, exactly.
The show has such heart. It really is just... It's that exactly what you're describing of like, I have half an hour. I want to fill that half an hour with something that I know is going to make me laugh.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so brilliant.
And that's not me saying, look, we're so funny, but I'm just saying that's the reaction I get from people.
Absolutely. I would like to ask you about Jack and how it's always fascinating to me how an actor revisits a part, especially after that length of time. Did you have to do any, like, did you rewatch old episodes? Did you?
You know, I don't really do that a lot. I mean, I have seen some, but yes, I as soon as we knew what was happening, I watched it and I was like, oh my God, the energy it takes. the energy it takes to play this character is just, I can swear, right?
Yeah. I mean,
It's
bleep it.
Fucking exhausting. But I welcome it. I mean, I love the gig, and I love playing him, and I love the writing, and I love the experience of playing him. And the opportunity to get it again, I always equate to the fact that all of us wish we could revisit our childhood again, and this is, I think, the closest thing you get, or you can come to it, is playing this character again, because he is almost Peter Pan-ish. He's almost, you know, he's very youthful and
interesting,
and doesn't change. And people are like, you know, a lot of people ask me, are you worried about the fact that I am older, but is the character then older? Yes, the characters are our age. To which I always say, you know, the friends you and I and everybody else has in college and high school, and if you still have those friends, they're still the same. Everybody's still the same at their core. Yeah. So none of us really grow up past high school, it feels like. Yeah. And so, sure, we hopefully have more wisdom and are smarter and more self-aware and all those things we hope on people and for ourselves. But at the end of the day, we are technically the same. And so that's we talked a lot about that too when we were talking about the characters, especially Jack, is you take all those things out that made Jack funny because now he's older, doesn't make any sense. He's still Jack, and I have friends that are like Jack, you know, that still can't find love, still can't hold a job, and are wonderful people and hilarious, and unfortunately just haven't found success in those two areas, or they go in and out of success. Right. And so, and no judgment to them, but they exist, and those are some of my closest friends. And so Jack's very real to me. Yeah. And did you have to do any, like, that energy you're talking about? Talk to me about the physicality. Yeah, like, so, you know. Getting back into that. It was rough. Clownish? Can I say clownish? Or? Yeah, he's a clown. I don't mind. I mean, he is a clown. I have friends that are clowns. I'm a clown. I think it's a compliment. But the energy. Well, thankfully, that's what theater is supposed to teach you and has taught me. Yeah, cool. Is the endurance of energy. And so when you do 8 shows a week on Broadway, it's like it's excruciating. I mean, it really is. People don't quite understand, nor is it their job to understand. Their job is just to be entertained. But it is a lot of work. And so when the show first started, I was like, how am I going to, like the first 2-3 days, I was like, I can't do this. Is insane. But once the train leaves the station and you're shooting episode 1, and you know you have 8 months to go, all of a sudden you wake up with, you're in that frame of mind, like, gotta go, gotta do 8 shows a week, 8 shows a week, 8 shows a week. And so it's because of that mentality that gives you the energy, because the opposite of that is death. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like you have to be funny or just be dead.
Well, so the foundation of being on Broadway is kind of directly helped because
in theater when I was younger, much younger.
Sure, because that endurance, it's instinctual. Once it's in you, it's in you.
Yeah, for sure.
And you've signed on for 8 months of playing Jack, and you're like, here we go.
Yeah, and there is that challenge of like, oh my God, I got to pick up this glass in a funny way that I've never picked it up. I got to enter the room in a funny way I've never entered. And so it is. And you see 16 episodes. I got to come up with 16 new ways to, and then the next season 18, and the next season 18, and whatever it is we do. And
oh my gosh, that's the miracle of a sitcom acting, and you guys are the best sitcom actors there are.
Oh, you're very sweet.
So that's what I want to ask is like, do you really have to do that with every picking up the glass, like every opening of the door?
I mean, I don't have to, but I
it's what you guys do above and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, it's called doing the work, I think. Yeah. I mean, I could just phone it in at this point or not care, but I care too much. And I love that I care too much. And, that's my job. That's our job, is to care. And you can tell when people don't.
Yeah, sure. And it's the kind of show, I guess it's specifically the kind of sitcom that is geared towards ingenuity and like physical reinventing, how he enters a room.
Yeah.
And sometimes,
and sometimes it is just Max Muchnick, who's hilarious and a good friend and the creator of the show. He's like, can you just walk in like a person?
But it's always better to be asked to tone it down.
Yeah, right.
Than to tone it up.
Yeah, so you'll see me just literally just walk in like a regular person. But other times, there's other things within the show but that's what's fun doing. That's what's fun doing it is
in front
constantly,
of a live audience.
in front of a live audience, but coming up with new physical things. I'm like, watching the show, or me, I would suppose, is a lot like watching Tom and Jerry, where it's like you don't need my dialogue sometimes because you just watch me jump around like a monkey.
Yeah. Cool.
But unfortunately, you do need the dialogue. Unfortunately.
Sometimes. How many takes are there per scene on average?
James Burrows is our director. He's directed every single episode. You know him from directed Cheers and, of course, the first years of Friends and Frasier and 2.5 Men and Big Bang Theory, and just goes on and on. Mary Tyler Moore and Taxi.
Every multicam.
Yeah, that's a hit. He's directed every single episode of Will and Grace, and so he has his process, which is very fast, louder, faster, funnier. So he is he's a master at knowing exactly what he wants, and a testament to the writers. If it's not on the page, it's not on the stage. So if it's not working within a scene, and we try it every different way, it's not the blocking. It's not anything we can figure out.
You go back,
and that's the process of a multicam. And then the writers fix it, and then the next day you do it. But to answer your question from 8 hours ago, yes, 2 takes. We do 2 takes every single scene.
Only 2 takes, or
maybe 3.
Oh, okay.
And then the little pickups that you have to do, but full from the beginning to the end of each scene. We'll just do 2 takes, and then.
So it's either the first or the second take that's used.
I mean, occasionally it's 3 or 4, but I would say 70 to 80% of the time it's 2 takes.
Wow. And how does rehearsal work?
I mean, that's the thing. It's like you just rehearsed it for 5 days. If you don't have it, there's something wrong.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
1 episode for days or 1 scene for days?
1 episode in 5 days. But it's only 35 pages. Not only that's long, 35 to 40 pages. But you have your stuff. So,
it's first or second take. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need any more. If you know the characters and there's a rhythm. By now there's definitely a rhythm.
Of course.
So we got it. But yeah. And now I find myself in other jobs, like when I did Promises on Broadway, and I made sure, because of Jimmy Burrows, know your lines, that's all he says. I memorized the entire script before our first day rehearsal.
Okay, wow.
So because of Jimmy Burrows, I was rehearsing for 1 week. You still have 2 months to go. I was like, I'm ready to open the show.
Really? Cool.
I was like, so.
That's your work ethic.
That is, yeah.
Totally.
I like working fast.
Yeah. Well, in a recent episode, you and Megan Mullally did the slapping thing that you've done before.
Yeah.
And that rehearsal do you have fight choreography? Do you have fight call?
That stuff we don't. I mean, if it's just like slapping and stupid stuff.
But it's a marvel.
Yeah, thanks. That's so funny. It's a marvel. That's sweet. But that's me and Meg too. We'll do it with Jimmy a little bit, and then he'll go off and direct another scene, and me and Meg will stay behind and work on it together. So again, it's nice to be around actors who want to do the work and care and want it to be the best it can be. And whenever I do a scene with any of them, we all feel the same way. So that slap scene, Megan and I definitely spent quite a long time on. And
when in the original run, it really does seem like the four of you has always had that just seamless sitcom, finding each other's rhythm and playing off each other. Did that click for you right away?
It did, and I think it's because of our theater background. I think when you have a background out there, Deborah, Eric, Megan, and myself all have very extensive background in theater. And I think when that happens there is a language, a shorthand, and a rhythm, and all of those things that you learn in theater we applied to the sitcom, because really multicam sitcoms are theater. There's just a row of cameras in between you and the audience, but there's no difference otherwise.
I mean, is it the same? Is it really in terms of you're playing off of them, you're riding the laughter,
right.
All of that is just cameras are added?
Yeah, I mean, to me,
wow.
And there's 4 of them, so there's so many cameras. It's like you got to pick up something. It's hard to just turn them on and walk away. Is what I always say.
But that's another thing that you learn on the job, season 1 of your show,
right.
And then by the time you're here, it's second nature, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and it's of course it took me quite a while to learn all of that. I definitely didn't.
Yeah,
I'd never done a TV show before, Will and Grace.
Well, in sitcoms, I think usually it's rare that a sitcom starts off with every actor knows exactly what they're doing with the character. Everyone knows where the story is going.
Right.
It's more like I remember Karen her voice is not as high in the pilot.
Yeah,
and
or the second episode.
You guys made these little finesses and
Yeah, and I played Jack a lot different at the beginning.
Yeah.
I played him more like me. And then as the show progressed and the characters evolved, and the backstories and the histories of the characters were brought to the forefront.
Cool.
You started to understand them more, and then I started elevating his voice and his actions and his everything, and that seemed to work for me.
It's that bigger, louder, faster mentality.
Yeah,
which
something like that.
Only works for that kind of writing, I think.
Yeah, and I have personally, Sean, has a lot of anxiety. As a lot of us do,
yes,
in the business.
Yes, we'll get into it. Yes,
yeah. And so a lot of my anxiety is also, and I'm learning how to deal with this, but a lot of it's filling empty space. So if I came into a room, I would have to fill the space for me because everybody else is so comfortable. But I have to talk loud, I have to talk fast, I have to fill the space, I have to do this, I have to do that because nobody's doing it. And but in reality, everybody's doing their own version of it. And so for me, it's my own issue. So I brought a lot of that to Jack too. It's like I come in, I got to fill the space, I got to entertain people. I don't want people to be bored. I don't want people to be uninterested or tune out or stuff. So I talk fast, I move fast, to keep people's attention. And I think that's me, and it's also Jack.
That's awesome, and that's why we love having you here specifically on this podcast, because we're backstage, and as you know, you're a working actor and you're playing a working actor. We always love
I know, isn't that funny?
What experiences of your working actor life informed him? Because it sounds like
it's so funny. Yeah,
that anxiety is one of the
for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, Jack's a working actor in quotes, with a de-emphasis on working. What was the question?
In terms of being a working actor, especially I guess at the beginning of creating Jack, did that inform?
Yeah, I think that I don't know. Yes, of course, it's always funny to use your own experiences into a character you're playing, and so it was. And the writers knew that about me, and I love that. I guess there's a lot of, I don't know. Max, who created the show again, Max has a lot of friends who are working actors too, so it's easy for him to write Jack that way, and fun for me to play. Yeah, because you have to call about. You have to call upon, like the auditioning and the stories about auditioning and going and not getting it, and it's a fun thing to do because it is so real to me.
Yeah. What kinds of auditions are you? Are there audition horror stories that?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh God, there's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many, like improvising and when I was much younger, like not getting a laugh at all the improvising. It took me so long to realize, you shouldn't add anything. Like it's such an insult to the writer.
Oh, like new lines. Oh.
Yeah, and I would do that, and people would be like, fuck you.
Yeah, I see.
People would be like, screw you.
Actors don't. We'll bleep you. Actors, the perception is like, how dare you write I'm the writer, you can't invent for me. You don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, but they're right. Like, it's so insulting, I'm sure.
What else do you wish you'd known?
Oh, gosh.
This is always what our listeners want to hear. Like, what mistakes not to make in the audition room? Like,
don't ever ask a question.
Ever?
Ever.
Oh, okay.
Because if you have to ask a question about, or ask it, have your agent ask it, or ask it before you go in to somebody else. But when you come in, so many actors come in and be like, so I have a question. Yeah, what is it? Well, about the character, like how do you see him?
Yeah, like the motivation.
Well, if you're asking us how we see him, you already blew the audition because we want to know how you see them.
Yes.
We want you to walk in and be the part.
Yeah.
And if you're not the part, then maybe you'll be another part someday and you're just not this one.
Right.
But it's the risks you have to take as an actor. To go in confident, like you know exactly how this should go, and if you guys don't get it, then it's your loss, not mine as an actor.
Yeah.
That's what you want to be.
Yeah. As opposed to coming in and literally asking, what do you guys want?
Hey, what do you want?
Yeah.
Well, now we don't even want to see you read anymore.
No.
Not even that, not to be a jerk
also
about it.
Also like a whiff of desperation in that of like, I'll be whatever you need me to be.
Right. Just be yourself.
Sometimes you want them to be yourself,
That's the only way to get a part.
Yeah.
That's the only way to get a part is be totally authentic and true to who you are and as it relates to the character, how you relate to the character.
As you said, your experiences are what best inform.
That's right, yeah.
And you can bring that into the audition room.
Say again?
You can bring that into the audition room.
Yeah, for sure. Because when they say this is the thing, actors will come in and they'll ask a question like, "How do you see this part?" or whatever that question is, and you'll explain it to them because you're nice and you want to help them, and then they do it how they're going to do it anyway. They're going to do it exactly with no change,
no flexibility. Yeah.
So then why did you ask the question in the first place?
Yeah.
So it's just
like they're like, I would like more direction, and you give it to them, and then they don't take it. The direction. Yeah. How not to audition. This is great advice.
Yeah, but I'm just going through it right now because I'm in the middle of pilot season.
Yeah.
And you see, I love actors, and they come in and they're so. I just want them to. The only reason I say any of that is to help and come off harshly or brazen. But it's only because you want everybody to be great, so that the choice is hard.
And you see so many of them. Yeah, the choice is going to be hard. And as you said, there's often the case. How often is it for you that an actor comes in and they nail the audition, but they're not right for that part?
Yeah, all the time.
And then you will think of them for another part.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you come in with solid choices and not every line, every word. Because I will see a lot of actors too say a line and then check out, and say the next line and then check out.
Interesting.
It's like stay in the scene, figure out what the scene's about, and just play that.
Yeah. Amy Sherman Palladino said something similar because her show is, I think, similar to Will and Grace. It's very snappy dialogue. There's a lot of words packed in there. And she said, don't wait until the pause. She's actually sort of said the opposite. Don't wait until the pause to like make a choice or do some action.
Right.
You have to act on the words.
That's right.
Every single word
and act
has to have a
between
choice.
The words.
And between
your lines while you're waiting.
And in an audition, you have maybe 3 minutes. You got to be like zeroed in, right? You've got to have those choices ready.
Right.
And so how often do you throw them a curveball and say, that was really solid, try it 180 degrees?
Of course, if you see that there's something there, you know, you
want to work with them.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
We're onto something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing too. And by the way, always have it memorized. always, no question.
Yeah.
You can hold the sides, but don't ever not have it fully memorized. That's the work. That's the work. The work is to memorize the words.
Yeah. And you did enough pilot seasons as an actor that now you're on the other side of the table and you're able to pinpoint which are the mistakes that lose you the job and which are the preparation that's going to maybe get you the job.
Yeah, because it's all about, I mean, it's like any other business in the entire world. It's all about building relationships. How do you build relationships? You are a kind, hardworking person. That's it. You are hardworking and you're kind. Now you have to be a little bit talented and you'll be great.
Yeah, that's funny to me that the talent part is almost lower on the spectrum.
Yeah, because there's so many talented people in this town. The only reason you get a part or not is if you're kind and hardworking. You know, it's so funny. I used to run tables at Red. There was a restaurant called Red.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember that. It was on Beverly in the late 90s. And somebody asked me as I was putting their food down, so are you an actor? And it was kind of like, because everybody's an actor. Every waiter's an actor, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I am. You know, you're kind of sheepish about it. And he's like, boy, that must be really hard out here. And I go, I was 26 years old. I go, it's hard if you're bad. Right?
It's really true.
If you're bad, it's going to be really hard. You're going to get a lot of no's.
It's amazing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because all you have to do is be a little bit good.
Yeah.
A little bit good, you know, and then you grow into having to be really, really good. And not just a little bit good.
Yeah, as opposed to starting from nowhere and
staying there.
Right, because very few people start off and they're just really good. You got to kind of be bad first. You got to get that training.
Maybe the reason for me saying that is because there always has to be a self-awareness. You always have to know what you are as a product and what you have to offer the marketplace. So if there's, you know, if I'm just a person who says words, well, there's millions of those. There's millions of those actors. But if I'm a person who says words in an interesting way and infuse myself in them and my personality, then your chances skyrocket.
Yeah, and it does sound like it really comes a lot. It all comes back to the training, to specifically theater training. That's your foundation.
Yeah, for sure.
In terms of in front of the audition table, behind the audition table, it all comes back to like the endurance, the versatility, the ability to perform live in front of people. Like
it's a different venue, the multicam. Yeah. It's really, it is. So it's so second hat to me that like when somebody like a guest star comes in and is nervous about it, I have to take a beat and go, oh yeah, of course. I'm so used to it that it's so foreign to others. Whereas other things are foreign to me and I go in scared, you know?
Yeah, like what?
Race car driving. I'm kidding. No, I've never done it.
I was going to say,
it's just the first thing I thought of.
What do you remember about those first seasons in the pilot and everything? Was it terrifying? Was it?
Oh my gosh, it was the most terrifying thing in the world. It was. I was so sick in that pilot.
Oh really?
I was just so fluey and because of the anxiety and I couldn't believe it and I saw myself on the monitor and I was like, oh my God, I'm on TV.
Yeah, that's freaky.
Like it was so bizarre.
Yeah.
But I was really, really nervous.
And it was just a pilot. There was no like, for sure this will run for 7 seasons.
I was just happy to get a job, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, because you hear the word pilot thrown around so much. Like, I want to say I got a pilot. And sure enough, I got the chance. But yeah, I was really, really nervous. And Jim Burrows was, he's a god. So I was like, who's this guy? I mean, I knew who he was. It was like, what's this going to be like, you know? I was just, all of it was so nerve-wracking. I don't know how I got through it. Yeah. And, you think you're going to get fired every other week. And
that's part of it. Had you been in many other pilots before then?
I'd never done TV.
No. Okay. Amazing.
I did like a couple reenactment mystery shows, you know?
Oh, my God, yeah.
In Chicago.
Love it. Yeah.
And I did like 50 commercials.
Oh, okay.
Or something like that by the time I was moved out and while I was here. So, but as far as a part on a TV show, I never got one before until this.
So those both must have informed in terms of like, was commercial, is that considered training as well?
Well,
or was it just a job?
You learn how cameras work and how to do all of that. You know, it's experience. The more experience you have is always better.
And why did the move happen from Chicago to LA?
Chicago, I was a music director at a dinner theater called Pheasant Run Dinner Theater, where I made tons of friends. Anna Klumsky was in Fiddler on the Roof when I moved out.
Amazing.
She was still in the show, and then I moved out here. And Megan Mullally performed at Pheasant Run Dinner Theater decades ago.
Yeah.
So it's interesting the people who passed in. Rosa Blasi, who's been on a couple shows. But I was there in the pit and very young age and playing piano and conducting and teaching the casts all the music from Music Man to Evita to West Side Story to Bye Bye Birdie, like whatever it was. And I just was sitting in the pit, and it's like watching the same movie over and over and over and over and over again, because you don't get to talk or do anything because you're stuck in the pit. Whereas people on the stage, they get to do a scene, then go backstage and goof around, or go back in the dressing rooms and laughing at them, and then they run down the stairs and do a scene. It just seemed like it was so much more fun.
Cool.
And so I would hear this person got this part in this little movie downtown Chicago, or this play, or this, and so I just got really kind of inspired by that. And not that I hadn't done it before. I did plays in high school and stuff like that. But it really motivated me to get an agent downtown Chicago and really pound the pavement and take it seriously.
And then at what point was Second City?
Second City I was 18 years old.
Oh, okay.
And
wow.
I never performed on the main stage. I just went through some of the training.
Okay.
And that was a blast. And then my producing partner, Todd Milliner, who taught at Second City, that's just a sidebar, we actually found each other in college. So we went to college together and met when I was like in second year of college at 19 years old. And here we are at 47.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But there was also stand-up, is that right?
Yeah, I did stand-up at the, for like 5 minutes at the Comedy Store.
5 minutes total.
What's that?
Like 5 minutes in your whole career.
I meant it metaphorically, but that was a disaster.
See, I always like hearing about the stand-up because it always seems like it's such a disaster, but it must really inform you.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was trying anything to excite my agent, actually. So I wasn't getting out on auditions. I wasn't doing anything. And so I was like, what can I do to excite him, to excite others, you know, and selling me? And so, because doing nothing isn't going to excite him. So I was like, I got to get something going on. So I started
just like
a sketch.
Jack.
Say again?
Jack with his one-man shows is just like, I got to do something. Yeah.
Well, and then I was in a sketch comedy group with a bunch of friends.
Okay.
And that was really fun. And now John Quaintance, who was a writer on Will and Grace, we were part of that sketch comedy group that we started so long ago in 1998. 1995. And so it's just bizarre how it all comes back around. But what was I saying?
Chicago, the journey.
Oh, the stand-up. Yeah. Then stand-up was so I just did that to get my agent's attention. And, it really didn't – it excited him a little bit, but I don't know. It excited the audience less.
Okay. But again, good to get in front of people, and you must have learned something. Yeah.
That was just part of the mantra that every actor should accept. Whereas, in that it's just keep doing something, whether it's stand-up, whether it's theater, whether it's sketch comedy, whether it's making short films, whether it's writing, whether it's just taking your iPhone and shooting something. It's just constantly doing what you are supposedly love to do.
Right. And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, like the scarier the better. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Improv and stand-up are, to me, they're like the two scariest things.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to push you out of your comfort zone. If you bomb doing that, you're going to learn a lot.
Yeah. One of the worst jokes I said was...
Do your whole routine.
Oh my God, no. One joke was, they say that doing ballet is one of the most difficult things anybody could do. So I say, don't do it. And see, but you laugh, but it's a terrible joke.
I mean, it's kind of funny.
It's horrible.
It's kind of like a non-joke.
Yeah, it's a non-joke.
Yeah. It's kind of like you were like, I'm not going to write a punchline. I'm going to write like...
I don't know who I was trying to be.
Right. But then, but was LA like is LA like this vision of like, I'm going to go and I'm going to reinvent myself? And
no, LA was, I was being self-aware again. And I'm all about that. I mean, it's something a human being never fully grasps their entire life.
Totally.
But you can always try to work towards that. So trying to be self-aware and self-aware of my surroundings, I knew I was a young person in Chicago, and I was young enough to realize I got to do it now or never. So if I move out to Los Angeles, I can try this acting thing, and if I fail, I have this musical director gig back in Chicago to fall. That was my plan B. So at least I had a plan B in place.
That's good.
And that helped me believe that I could move out here and just even exist.
Yeah.
You know, I never even visited here.
Wow. Yeah.
And I got in my car, packed it, and it was after Fiddler on the Roof.
That's the dream.
I said bye to Anna Klumsky, bye to all my friends. And I said goodbye, I got on the road, and just with a friend, and we drove, switched turns driving out to L.A.
That's what that almost stereotype of like moving to L.A. to be an actor is. You go with $10 in your pocket.
But that's true. And my car broke down halfway there, and I had to get it fixed. And oh my God, it was just... It was, but when you're young like that, you think you're immortal. And
right. Well, I was going to say, like, because of that self-awareness, were you, the whole time you were like, tons of doubt and tons of like, this is ridiculous, what am I doing? Or was it more like total optimism?
Yeah, it was optimism.
Okay.
It was like, anything is better than my home life at the time, you know, being gay and in a small town and wanting to be around, you know, your birds of a feather and stuff like that. So I occupied a space at my house in Chicago, in Glen Ellen, Illinois, but I didn't feel like I lived there. And, you know, maybe that was my own stuff. But I just needed to feel good about myself and feel free to be myself and be in a surrounding where that I could explore and fail freely.
Yeah, cool. Kind of that fresh start.
Yeah. And I'd never been here, and it was exciting. And then I used to travel to San Francisco I thought I was going to be a pop star like Ricky Gervais. Remember when Ricky Gervais was going to be like, I'm like, when I saw his music video, I'm like, oh my God, I had the same problem. I was in comedy, but I also wanted to be a pop star.
Yeah.
And so.
And you had the musical background. You were like, oh.
Yeah. So I would go and write with a friend in San Francisco and record songs. And oh my God, it's unbelievable. It's so bad.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that element of the.
Yeah. And I was in a pop band in college called Sounds from the Stairs for 5 years.
Cool.
And out of college, I just played keyboards and sang backup a little bit and danced around like an idiot.
It all informs that.
Yeah.
Probably all informed that one moment of the big break of getting Jack and like.
Well, and also what's great about the writers of Will and Grace is they're smart enough to get to know their actors and the personal lives of the actors, and then write towards those strengths. Because it's one thing to write a character and just expect somebody to fit the skin of that in something like a multicam, where you find the seeds of that maybe with an actor, the marriage, the beginning part of the marriage between an actor and a role. But then as time goes on, if the writers are smart like ours are, they discover new things about the actor that they infuse into the character.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
I want to ask too about Hazy Mills.
Yeah.
What do you do? What's your day to day? Like, how does starting a production company like that work?
Todd Milliner and I went to college together. We had towards the end of Will and Grace, I looked around and I said, "Wait a minute, how did all this happen? How did this come together? Like, who made that first phone call about?" So Max had this idea, then he wrote it with David. Now it's a script. Now what do you do? So you get in the door this way, and you meet this person, you meet that person. So, and then you do that, and then you build this, then you sell the show, and then you cast it, then you build the sets, and then you promote it, then you market it, then you have to write the episode. So I was interested in the machine of how building the machine of something like Will and Grace. And so at that exact same time, I started becoming inquisitive. Todd, coincidentally, he called me and it's like, I have a couple show ideas. Do you want to get into producing? I was like, that's so bizarre. You're asking me. Yes, because the show's almost over. Where am I going to go when I get out of bed in the morning? It's not like I'm getting these leading roles for movies. So that's not going to happen. And so...
well, you should have been, but that's not
well, I'm gay,
how it
and
goes.
that's how the business of Hollywood works.
Sure.
And so that's another podcast discussion.
It definitely is. I'll start it with you. Let's do it.
So
in the closet, not in the envelope.
Out of the closet. And so we started this company, and the first 2 shows we sold right away. One was called Situation: Comedy, where it was like a project greenlight for sitcoms. I don't know if you know about this, but we shot 2 sitcom pilots, and we were going to have America vote to see which one they wanted to see go to series. And so that happened, and we shot it, and nobody watched, and that's that. And then the other one was a pilot called Underexposed, where we gave filmmakers the exact same short film script.
Oh, cool.
That was very kind of vague. It was like, oh my God, look at that. What's that? It's coming right towards you. And they could say whatever interpretation they want. They could film whatever interpretation they wanted. And so we did that, and the judges on that were Jon Favreau, Trudy Styler, and Craig Zadan.
Oh, okay.
And that didn't get picked up. So, and then Spielberg did the exact same show 10 years after that.
But it's the same thing. Like with any field, you got to bomb a couple times.
Absolutely.
And keep at it.
And we were like, oh, great, this is easy. We sold 2 shows. This is how it goes. And then we didn't sell anything for 5-7 years.
Okay.
But we kept at it. We kept building relationships and meeting people. And now, Bob Greenblatt's been just a gigantic friend and mentor and believer in us and an inspiration to us. And he's so smart and savvy and gets all of it. And so he's been a big advocate of ours. And he was one of the reasons why we've become successful, as well as several other people in our lives. And and we just now kind of have it down. And so we have a system. And your question was, what do? I bring certain strengths to the company that Todd can't, and vice versa. Todd brings a business background, a Second City background, a leadership thing that I don't necessarily have in the way that he has it. And so it works nicely. I have a bunch of relationships, respectful, loving relationships that we incorporate into our company. And we have a big, giant sign on our wall in our office that says, be nice and work hard.
There it is.
There it is.
Okay.
That's it.
That's all it comes down to.
That's it.
That's the only advice that listeners of this podcast need to hear, right?
So simple.
Yeah.
But that's Hazy Mills Productions, and we have a bunch of stuff in development right now. History of Comedy on CNN, second season's coming up. We just wrapped Grimm last year, Grimm on NBC. Hollywood Game Night's still going.
Yes.
Congratulations
on the success of Hollywood Game Night.
Isn't that silly and fun?
So
Thanks.
Fun. So fun.
We love it. It's so awesome and fun. And it started out in my living room,
Yeah. Right.
But it's great because we've figured out how to do game shows, 1-hour dramas, half-hour comedies, and docuseries. So now we're getting into branding content as well, that arm. And we're shooting our first movie this summer. And so I love all of it. I love being busy. I love not being stagnant.
Yeah.
And we've built a company that we are allowed to be. We are able to switch gears at the drop of a hat because of the other folks, the great folks in our company.
And in terms of wrapping that around a schedule of shooting however many episodes of a network sitcom as you have to do.
Yeah.
Most recently.
Well, that's when Todd runs the company, and if I'm at rehearsal, which is right next to our office.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which is great. So the second I'm not in a scene or I have 20 minutes, I'll go over to the office and
You're a very hard worker.
I love it. I grew up so poor.
Is that what it comes down to?
It's like, oh my God, I'm gonna be poor tomorrow. So and also my mom raised 5 kids by herself. All she did was work, and I think it's that survivor mode in me that gets me out of bed and motivates me every single day.
That's awesome. And what's next in terms of Will and Grace? Are you also back into the mode of did you have Emmy campaigns back in the day? You were nominated for an Emmy every frickin' year.
Except for the first one, yeah.
Except for the first one.
Or maybe the first two. Maybe the first one, yeah.
Or I don't remember which year you won. But
I think it was 2000 maybe.
Yeah. But
2,000 awards.
Has that been another 2,000 awards? Has that been like another? And we're back into the swing of things, or has the awards landscape changed since the original?
Oh, that's interesting. Wow. You know, I think, yeah, I mean, it definitely has. I mean, you know, how many Oscar hosts do you need to make the same joke about nobody's seen these movies? You know what I mean?
Totally.
And
yeah.
Which is so sad because they're all unbelievably artistic, incredible pieces of art, you know. Yeah. But for some reason they're not reaching as wide of an audience because I don't know why. Because I don't have that answer.
I feel movies are still figuring that out. I think.
So to your question about awards, have awards changed? I think they've changed in the sense that sadly the masses aren't caring much about. Of course, I'm talking about the Oscars. I'm talking about Emmys.
Sure. Well, both. Yeah,
but that's as far as the Oscars. I wish we could make people care, but it just feels like they don't as much.
Interesting.
You know? Yeah. I think in our bubble of Hollywood, we think everybody cares about all of our movies and all of our TV shows. But no, people have lives, and they carve out what they can for what they like. Yeah. And but as far as like Emmys,
and with TV, as you said, there's just so much TV that's another thing of like. Not everyone has seen every TV show. There's no way.
Right. There's no possible way to fit it all in. So the first time an audience might hear of a TV show is on an award show.
Yeah.
So I always say like the Oscars now is what the Sundance Film Festival used to be. Mm. It's like an independent film show.
Yeah. Cool.
You know. And then the Emmys are becoming the same way as well as all these Golden Globes and everything. It's the first time people are hearing about these things. So it's a wonderful platform to get the message out and to market your show or your movie. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if that was the intention of the award show.
Yeah. And the Emmys weren't conceived with whatever it is, 500 scripted shows are now premiering every year or whatever. Right. And it's that thing of like, I think the Emmy has become more valuable because of that sheer competition.
Absolutely, yeah.
Getting a nomination does put you on the map. It does like show people.
It means a lot more. Even honestly, to be nominated, I know it's such a jokey cliche, but it really is truly a bigger deal now to be even nominated. Yeah. And so the nominations that we've gotten this year is just like it's incredible because of that point. Because there's so many to choose from that. If we get invited to the party, it's just a huge honor.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, congratulations. This interview is actually not going to run until we're recording this in February, but it's not going to run until summer. But I expect great things for Will and Grace.
Oh,
season 9? What is it?
Season 9.
Yeah, season 9. Do you have any parting words of wisdom?
Oh gosh,
for our listeners?
I was going to ask you the same thing.
Me wisdom for you?
Yeah. I'm always welcome to it. Do I have any parting words of wisdom? Oh, my gosh. I wish people could see themselves. Sometimes I get invited back to Illinois State University where I went to school because it's got a great theater program. Mm-hmm. And I'll talk to the kids. And I've always had this mantra my whole life when I first started creating goal lists. Because I think it's important to write down what you want, and it can be anything. Like my personal goal list, it's anything. It's stream of conscious making lists and literally numbering them. So number 1 might be read more books, or number 2 might be work out more. 3 might be eat better. 4 might be book a movie. You know, 5 might be whatever it is when I was a younger person. And it's really bizarre how if you write them down, you work towards them. Yeah. They really do come true, I believe, if you focus your goals like that. And part of what I tell the kids is, in addition to making goal lists, is there's 2 questions I always ask myself. What do you want? And then what are you waiting for? So what do you want is very specific to you, and you must be specific when you write it down. Because you literally, in America, if you are if there's no limitations in your life as far as handicaps or anything like that, you can literally have and be anything you want. I don't think people realize that.
Sure.
And because you get in your own head and you.
Totally.
But if you write down what exactly is it, do you want to be president of the United States? Do you want to run a studio? Do you want to be a very famous working actor? Do you want to be a respected actor? Do you want to be a doctor, whatever it is. If you write it down, and then if you ask yourself, well, what am I waiting for to make the first step, the first phone call, the first email, the first whatever it is to make those things happen? There's no reason why those things shouldn't come true.
Because so often the answer to what are you waiting for is some excuse. It's some way of getting in your own way.
Right.
And like your inner saboteur.
Right.
That's what it's called, apparently.
So those are my words of wisdom.
That's excellent. Thank you so much, Sean Hayes.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining us on In the Envelope. In the Envelope, an awards podcast, is recorded at Lotus Productions, Hyperbolic Audio, and Big Yellow Duck in New York City, and Soundbox LA, Mark Grouse Studios, and Buzzies in Los Angeles. Special thanks to Julia Anrather and Ryan Derringer. Like, rate, subscribe, tell your friends, and follow us on Twitter at In the Envelope. Thanks, as always, to producer, editor, and all-around podcast extraordinaire, Jamie Muffett, and thank you to the team at Backstage, the most trusted name in casting. That's Peter Rappaport, Rawaan Alkhatib, Francis Ramos, Caitlin Watkins, Lauren Rout, Mark Stinson, and especially Casey Howe. For more awards and industry coverage, head over to Backstage.com. Thank you for listening. Tune in next time for another glimpse in the envelope. I'm really loving the marlin. Is it a marlin? A sailfish?
Yes, but it's not a real fish.
No. I'm aware. But has it always been there?
No, that comes out in May. That's our summer decoration.
Isn't that your seasonal board?
Oh.
Yes, that's our seasonal board.
Listeners, what I'm looking at is a metal or plastic metal.
Is it inflatable?
We don't blow it up.
Two-dimensional. And it's hanging on the wall, and it's bright blue and green and yellow. And it does make me feel like we're on a tropical somewhere.
Yeah, back home in your land.
Hey, back home.
The tiki bar.
Depending on when this is airing, I am on my way to Hawaii, or I've just gotten back.
Right. Yeah. And
File
I'll still
all
be
of that. Keep all of this.
And I'll still be in Philadelphia, rainy Philadelphia.
I'm so sorry. If there's an episode where we're like, this banter needs
fish-related
spicing up.
chat.
Yeah.